Custis became a widow at the age of 26 when her husband died of heart failure. Upon his death, she inherited the large estate that he had previously inherited from his father. After his death in 1757, she received 1/3 of his estate outright, and the remaining 2/3 were granted to their 2 young children. The total inheritance amounted to approximately $33,000, equivalent to $982,246 in 2021, 17,000 acres of land, and hundreds of slaves. The legal and financial matters of the inheritance presented a considerable burden on Custis while she was raising her 2 surviving children and grieving the loss of her husband and her children as well as that of her father. She was also left with the responsibility of managing the farmland and overseeing the well-being of the slaves. According to her biographer, she capably ran the 5 plantations left to her when her first husband died, bargaining with London merchants for the best tobacco prices. Custis, age 27, and Washington, age 26, married on January 6, 1759, at the White House plantation. As a man who lived and owned property in the area, Washington likely knew both Martha and Daniel Parke Custis for some time before Daniel's death. By one account, Washington visited Martha Custis twice at the White House plantation in March 1758. The second time, he came away with either an engagement of marriage or at least her promise to think about his proposal. By another, they were introduced by Colonel Chamberlayne, a mutual acquaintance, when they both stayed the night at his home in May 1758. At the time, she was also being courted by planter Charles Carter, who was even wealthier than Washington. The couple honeymooned at the Custis family's White House plantation for several weeks, followed by a stay in Williamsburg where her husband was a representative, before setting up house at his Mount Vernon estate. At the time of their wedding, she was one of the wealthiest widows in the 13 colonies. Their marriage remained happy over the following 40 years, in part because of their similar worldviews. It was a marriage based in mutual respect and shared habits, with both maintaining similar schedules in day-to-day life and both prioritizing family and image over excitement and vice. From 1759 to 1775, the Washingtons lived at Mount Vernon where they tended to their plantation. Washington ran the household and regularly entertained visitors. She knitted and oversaw the making of clothes, and she became talented in curing meat in their smokehouse. Washington entertained almost daily, having visitors for dinner or for longer stays as the family became more prominent in the political and social life of Virginia. Washington's husband used her wealth to buy additional land and slaves. He more than tripled the size of Mount Vernon, 2,650 acres, 10.7 kilometers, in 1757, 8,251 acres, 33.39 kilometers, in 1787. For more than 40 years, her dower slaves farmed the plantation alongside her husband's. By law, neither of the Washingtons could sell Custis lands or slaves, which Martha's dower and the trust owned. The Washingtons had no children together, but they raised Martha's 2 surviving children. She was highly protective of them, especially after her 2 previous children had died and Patsy was found to have epilepsy. In 1773, Patsy died when she was 17 during an epileptic seizure. Washington's last surviving child, John, left King's College that fall and married Eleanor Calvert in February 1774. The Washingtons hoped for more children throughout their marriage, but they were unable to conceive. Life for the Washingtons was interrupted as the American Revolution escalated in the 1770s. Though rumors were spread that she was a loyalist, Washington consistently shared her husband's political beliefs. She strongly supported her husband's role in the Patriot movement and his work to advance his beliefs in the cause. She stayed at Mount Vernon when he was appointed Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army in 1775, overseeing the construction of new wings to their home. She then moved to the home of her brother-in-law so as not to be so conspicuous of a target during the American Revolutionary War.